Dearly redheaded, we are choosing consciousness today to get through this thing called grief. Interesting word, grief. It means love, which makes for a mighty good joke. But I'm here to tell you, there's nothing else. Just joy. And if the big picture tends to bring you down, go crazy once your life goes. Woo!
I married an Italian. I don't know if you knew that.
I didn't. Yeah.
Did I ever tell you my joke? After I divorced him,
No.
I couldn't eat Italian for 10 years. Can I tell that joke?
Yes, please do. Please do.
All right, just so you know, I'm wearing a T-shirt that says "Best Dick Ever," so we got to throw a little comedy into this.
Absolutely. I'm always up for comedy.
Well, we both just started to organically laugh. And Brian, was that joke on there, or should I tell it again? It was on there. Okay, so
We can start with that.
Let's tell it again. Lucia is Italian, and I let her know that I divorced one. And after divorcing one, I couldn't eat Italian for 10 years. I always had a thing for Italians. Not so much anymore.
Yeah. Ugh,
But-
not fine dining, huh?
Oh, well, you know, it's just, the jokes are writing themselves in my head right now. But you started to say at the end of our second podcast that things are untrue, and we started to giggle a little bit. So speak to how you broke out of the messaging and how it still is something you may not be able to break out of as a result of it. It's in your brain.
Yeah. 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 I think I started to, well, I mean, honestly, Joanne, I've used a lot of comedy around this for myself too. Like I see a lot of the way that they are as like, I think it could be a full on SNL skit,
Absolutely.
Absolutely. It's like, as you know, you guys want some material? I've got some material for you writers out there. Like and I do this for my clients a lot too. I think I realize like the absurdity in the behavior, the absurdity and the funny in it, even though it's what they're doing is not funny. It's horrible. Yes. And I don't want to say that it's not, it is horrible, but it is so, it's ridiculous. Also, like when you think about, when I'm realizing like how much importance I have placed on these people, like that they are like these gods. I mean, it really felt like
you
that.
put what on these people? What was the word you used?
Importance.
Got it.
Importance. Yeah. They, to me, were like these, it really, like we grew up in this small town, and the family is well known because they are in business, right?
Right.
And they have made themselves into royalty. Like the way that my dad talks about himself is like, it's like, wow, this man believes this. He believes that he is that important.
Yeah.
They do. They believe it. And here, I guess, maybe they are, but we were programmed in that way. And I grew up, I remember feeling like I'm somebody because I'm part of this family. Just by being part of them, I'm somebody, you know? And I think I really, that all got dismantled through my healing from OCD, which was one of the most terrifying experiences to go through. But like, had it not happened, none of this, I don't think, would have gotten dismantled for me.
Right.
Of like that, the whole concept that they had built for me around who I was, my place in the world, what I was capable of, what I was not capable of, which was a lot. And my duty and how I'm supposed to show up, and that I'm supposed to show up as the fool I'm supposed to show up as the one who's laughable and not not valuable. And I realized I was like, this is just a bunch of people who came together to decide this, and I don't have to live in that. I don't have to. And it was just like, I know it sounds like a simple concept, but it was mind blowing to me of like, yeah, they're family, but they're also just people. Right. And it's like a group of people that I didn't know came together and started deciding this stuff about me. I'd be like, what? Like, that's not true. And so why am I putting any truth on these people coming together to decide that?
Right. And then me having grown up in a toxic comedic family, when my jokes started it, I can, kick you in the throat with a joke. They taught me well, but that's when it stopped being funny to them.
Yes. Yeah. I will say I don't think that I'm that funny anymore. I mean, so in my time here while I'm visiting, I've decided not to see many people in that. My goal here is to be able to set as many boundaries as I can and to be in the process of noticing the abuse as it comes up. And I have done that while I'm here. I've noticed a lot of intimidation and things like that, quiet intimidation.
Yep.
And that is like success for me. Like that is my mission while I'm here, is like just to notice it, just to be in it. Because what goes away from me in that too is this: when you're psychologically abused, there's this extreme feeling of responsibility for the person doing it to you as well, at least in my experience. That I've always felt this overwhelming sense of I'm responsible for this person's feelings and how they feel. And the more that I allow myself to be in it and notice it as it's happening, the less responsible I feel. I just feel like, yeah, here it is again. And I don't feel bad. I'm in the process of somebody perpetrating on me right now, and I don't feel bad. I don't feel responsible for you. You are doing something that is really destructive. You are trying to do something really destructive here, and I'm sitting with you in the same room, and you're not seeing me as a human being right now. And so I know I've lost a lot of respect, and I don't feel responsible or guilty anymore.
Good. Which is different from empathy, because you can still empathize.
I do still empathize.
Yep.
I really do. And I want to make that clear. I want to make that really clear that I have so much empathy for my father and what he's been through, because it has been a lot. I have so much. And there are times that I'm with my dad where it feels amazing. My dad is a very gregarious man. He's fun to be around. And when he lets that ugly, gross stuff go, everybody wants to be in his presence. He just shines. And I see that part of him. But that dark side, man.
His dark side's too far gone. His dark side's too far gone.
It's too far gone. It's the other part isn't developed enough,
No, and I think my interests, and I'm still trying to shut the fuck up. But yeah, I mean that's what breaking the cycle is, to be able to look at you. It doesn't mean the cycle doesn't repeat. It just means at what point can we start to look at ourselves and and I don't have many people in my family at all that can look at themselves. They're too far gone.
Yeah.
And my in-laws. I mean, it's just, and it doesn't mean that other people aren't, like you said, experiencing the upside of what they can bring, but not around me. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Nope. I started to joke that if, I always have made jokes about getting hit by a bus or more likely run over. That's actually my joke. And I said to somebody, I'm like, if something happens to me, family first. There might be 600 people in line, but put those relatives right in the front. I'm much more comfortable being that person because of the humor, which unfortunately gives them a reason to further discredit me. Comedy looks like deflection, it looks like denial, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah. I think comedy is a doorway to telling the truth. It can be.
I have a joke I want to tell because you'll laugh, but It's horrible. So I'm giving you permission to laugh. You ready, Brian?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Okay. So my mother's dying and she's half gone. And I don't know if you've ever been in that position with somebody. It's horrible. I had invited all my siblings months prior, knowing she was, on her way out to, they were largely estranged from her. And I said, do you want to come? Come. And for the most part, I wasn't taken up on it. I'm starting to sweat telling this publicly. And I've told it publicly. This is a different scenario. So, so he opted to come as she was actively dying. And I knew it was going to fuck me up. Did I say who it was? It was a sibling of mine. I knew it was going to fuck me up. So I made the decision to be high as a kite. And I can't use THC because I have psychedelic experiences. But my mother was going out on THC and I didn't feel any guilt where she was concerned. And I just was very careful about being around this person, wanting to save my mother's soul, very cognizant of that, maybe helping for him to make amends. But I was on fumes and it was really too much. And I had made it very clear that I didn't want people there in the end, but made this exception for my mother. You with me?
Yeah.
So, I remember the name of the pot was Dog Walker. So I was getting high with this person, with this sibling, and just very aware that he hadn't grown a pubic hair, and that's not what this was about. So that made Brian laugh. So I was aware, even though I was high. So there was a situation where one of my neighbors was a nurse, and she was. I'm making this more than the joke. I'm trying to give you the backstory. And she was very, very attractive. Yeah. And I had said to this woman, I said, "You're going to meet my sibling. He's going to come on to you. Just be ready." She's like, I got it. Don't worry about it. I'm like, all right, just, FYI. So she walks in the house and it was me, the nurse, and one of my aides. And the aide, she was, say, in her 50s and the aide was in her early 70s. I'm high as a motherfucking kite. My brain's going to the stratosphere. I look at the two women and I said, ooh, I got a joke. Would one of you say this to my sibling? And the nurse says, well, what's the joke? And I said, well, ask him what it's like to be at an age where you have a better shot of fucking the aide than the hot nurse. Well, wait, it gets better. So the nurse tells me there's something fucking wrong with me while she's laughing. The aide's laughing. 3 women were laughing. I'm the only one stoned. So my sibling walks in a little while later, and I can't help myself. I am like very excited to want to share this joke because of how I grew up. And I was very aware that I was going to pay a price. And I was very aware that that price might be something the sibling would say to my son. There was a lot going on, a lot of moving parts. So ultimately, they walk in and I tell the joke. And with the women laughing, I got that rage look. You know that look, right?
Yeah,
rage, the rage, like the rage. You know, around a person who always told jokes, but when I told a joke. So this person looked at the aide and he said, and I guess I can say it's a he. I've already probably said it. He looked at the nurse. He looked at the aide. He goes, "If you think that's funny, there is something fucking wrong with you."
Mm.
And I was like, "Ooh," and there we go. You know, it was just an astonishing experience. And I did end up paying a price. So I did get you to laugh, I hope, at the joke, but the bigger picture around it is I tell that joke and half the audience goes, all the young guys go, "Oh no, that's not the joke. That's a different joke." All right, I got to get out of this. I got to get out of this. I can't do both. I can't talk to you and fucking start comedy. But yeah, it was like it's. I mean, that's one of my trauma jokes, and it's funny because it happened.
Yeah, right. Like I think that you just telling the story. It's like it's because it's absurd, right? Like, the behavior is absurd.
Any more stories come to mind? Anything you want to make fun of? I can help.
Yeah. I mean, God, so many. I just think there is always this sense of like the crying. You know, there's going to be crying when we leave here to go back to Denver. My husband is always.
I think it's very funny that you're doing this in the next room.
Well, we're staying in a house that's separate from theirs, so which is nice. There's a crying. My husband has always joked. He's like, "I have never seen a man cry so much." I've never. I mean, my husband grew up in it. Not that it's wrong for men to cry, and that's not what I'm saying.
Right. Not that there's anything wrong with that. No, we know.
No, but the amount of crying, he's like, I grew up in a WASP house, and that didn't happen. But there's just so much crying, like when we leave, and there's a lot of like talk about how he's going to die, and like, if he's been talking about dying since I was a kid, like his time on the earth is so limited. I'm done now.
And we're going to talk about it. My mother died. I had a 5-day dissociative episode because all my unconscious was harboring. And do you, and this is something I love to debate, do you think your father or anybody else blessed with narcissism, do you think it's unconscious or conscious behavior or a combination? Because they're indoctrinated too, so it's... Yeah,
I know. This is such a tough question because I wrestle with it myself. And in my training, it's also like this is an unknown as well. Like I am certified to treat survivors of narcissistic abuse, and the training I've received is like, we're not sure. We don't know how much they're aware of. And so in my personal belief, I do think it's a combination of both. I think there are times when they do know what they're doing, but that the reason they're doing it feels justified in their minds. Like they've created
brings them comfort. Brings their brain comfort.
yeah, it's justified, and you really are a terrible person in those moments, right? Like they truly believe that you're harming them, and so they're gonna go ahead
That's a self-love moment for them.
yes, yes. Oh, I never thought of it in that way. Yeah, it's a self-love moment for them. And then
I hate that I know so much, but I love that I know so much when I talk to you.
I feel like you're teaching me too, and I love that I'm showing up to this not as a therapist, and I'm just sort of having my own like journey doing it. But
I doesn't faze me. You could be a veterinarian, a therapist, a professional golfer. We're all experiencing this stuff in real time.
Yeah, but to answer it more fully, I think it's both. I think there's a lot of things that might have become so normalized for my dad that it's just sort of like, this is who I am. What do you want from me? What do you expect from me? I'm just like, I don't. And on some level, I agree with that. It's like, well, what do I expect? What can I expect from this person? So I just think that, like, yeah, there's just so much unconscious that he doesn't have the capability of seeing as a problem.
Nope.
Yeah.
And then, and it speaks to our culture, speaks to our society. AI might be able to save us, depending on who's programming it. Yeah, I think you've heard me say that it's going to be that benevolent, malevolent thing. And we need to examine that not only within ourselves, but, when it comes to others and, right up the food chain to how we relate to other countries. And, it's just, and you and I have touched a little bit on it, and it's not the goal of today, but also, being a fifth dimension person trying to navigate the third dimension. It's wanting to go beyond the fifth dimension to know what's possible, and just be. I was very much in the third dimension with my mother. My mother had a lot my mother fawned anything with a penis. God forgive me for saying that. But that's what she knew and learned, and it was aggravating. But like the way you forgave, or not that you've forgiven, but the way that you can see the bright spots in your father, I was able to bring. My mother could have been a very much darker person, but I held her accountable when I was young. Mm-hmm. My siblings had tolerated more from my mother's dark side. Not that she would have called it dark, and not that they would have called it dark, but I held her accountable. So, we developed a beautiful, beautiful long-term relationship, but it was still very, very 3D, and I'm glad for it in every way possible. And I was glad that she got to see one of her children, because I was more interested in her soul than his, mine, or anybody around us. And I was just so aware that I needed to do that. But that's also what you can appreciate drove me into the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do wonder sometimes if, because that's so interesting that you called her on it, right? And she was able to accept that from you.
My father had died. I was the youngest child. She had to make a decision.
Mm-hmm.
My mom was tough.
Sure, but she had to be.
Yeah, and likely also on the spectrum, which in a mother isn't always a mother that hasn't. I don't want to insinuate anything negative about my mother. She was my best friend, and I adored her, and my favorite comedian, and all that jazz. But she was on the spectrum and wasn't very introverted, and we ended up connecting on all that stuff for very many years.
Mm.
And we would talk about the stuff that I don't want to go there now, but it reminds me with you I should go there, because we would talk about the stuff that that we would talk about our family, but never in the negative way, more like in an insightful way and a compassionate way. It wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, there were aspects of it that I ultimately, the jokes, but yeah, I commend you, man. I just commend you. I could not do what you do, but I am so glad that you're doing it.
I just wanted to say, I think it's beautiful that you were able to talk about this with your mother and have that conversation of just being able to offer that witnessing and validation of each other of like, oh no, this was real, right? What you experienced is real. That, I think, as you were talking about it, was really a powerful aspect for me, because I haven't really had that, not with another family member. Like that any of this was real. And that's where I still get to this day I get tripped up of like, is this as bad as I have made it out to be? And there's a very large part of me that knows that it is, but there's this little kid part, I think, that still wants that. So I think it's really powerful that you were able to have that with your mom.
I just thought of something for you. Do you have Pete Walker's CPTSD book?
I do, yes.
Page 297, top of the right-hand page, about a third of the way down. And I'm saying this for those who have experienced covert abuse, and sexual, physical. Walker says something along the lines that certain forms of scapegoating, intentional cruelty, something else, and incest were amongst the most difficult battles with CPTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And I had sociopathic psychological abuse. So I had 3 of the 4. So what I do to make me feel better about what other people have been through that exceeds what I've been through, even though they have evidence which is fucked up, I just say psychologically my abuse was a 10. That doesn't mean there's not 55, 106, 215. But that emotional, psychological, covert piece it's ruining a lot of lives.
Yeah. It is, and I think in the end, that's what I'm trying to do. Is that I on a macro level, there's not a lot that I can do, but this is my micro level of shifting things, turning things around, and because I think in our society we need that shift desperately. We need the people that are being destroyed by these people to be the people that actually are stepping up to lead. I really believe that. I believe that those are the people that are probably most qualified to be leading, and their potential is going down the drain because they're believing lies,
Well, it's mass gaslighting, mass lighting.
Yeah, mass lighting. Oh, I love that.
It's not mine. It's a woman. Can't think of her name. Yeah. Yeah, and that, again, not to beat my own dead horse, but that's why the fifth dimension is just so much more desirable.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening and supporting Natural Born Redhead. If you follow the bouncing balls, please like and subscribe. If you know someone interested in sparing others grief and inciting joy, message me on Facebook or reach out via my website, Natural Born Redhead. Jai Ma.